And we're back for the next module.
hmm
More building a certification, we call it study lab or practice lab. I think we're kind of
hmm
using those interchangeably.
Right.
In the last one, we did an overview of what we're going to talk about. Now we're going to get into a little bit of the meat, although this module is more review of the previous course we did on Mastering Microsoft Certification Exam Prep. So now's a good moment to say if you haven't watched that one, it might be a good idea to pause, run over to the Mastering Microsoft Certification Exam Prep, take a look at those videos, and then come back here and pick up with building a cert lab.
hmm
But we're going to give you a little review real quick of one of the key topics in that module or in that course.
The title of this module is Reviewing the CERT Study Pyramid. And specifically, our agenda consists of introducing the model, if you haven't seen it before, which consists of building content knowledge, practicing the technology, and strategizing the exam. This is a model I developed just in reflection of my career taking Microsoft certification exams and what I learned were the best approaches to preparing for the test. It's as simple as that. What is the CERT study pyramid? Well, I look at it figuratively as a pyramid, a three-sided equilateral pyramid in which each side is interdependent of the others. That sounds more complex than it actually is. First, we have content knowledge. You have to know your stuff. For instance, if you're looking to take one of the Azure exams, it would make sense that you need to understand principles of the public cloud in general and Microsoft Azure services specifically. As we said at the end of the previous module, though, the content knowledge is only going to take you so far. You actually need to know how to work with the technology. Again, to keep the Azure example in mind, you know how to deploy a virtual machine in Azure, which in turn cascades into things like storage and virtual network and so forth. That's practical application, and that, again, is what this course is focused on. And third, there's test-taking strategy. Over the years, I've known lots of certification candidates who went into the exam room with lots of content knowledge and maybe years of experience in the field, so they had the hands-on experience, but they were nonetheless taken aback because they weren't comfortable with translating their content and practical skills into a computer-based exam. So that all three of these pyramid sides are fully interdependent, and I submit that the best percentage of success is going to be when you've integrated all three of those. How do you build your content knowledge? I think your first thing to do is to consider what kind of learner you are. For instance, are you more visual, where you need to see a demonstration of Microsoft technology in action? Are you more auditory, to where you can hear a procedure and immediately start putting it together in your own mind? Are you kinesthetic, which is a fancy way of saying you actually want to practice yourself to solidify it? And you may find in reflecting on your own learning styles that you're a little of each, maybe. It's definitely not a case of necessarily where you're all visual, all auditory, or all kinesthetic. What training options are available as you prepare for your Microsoft certification exam? Well, first, there's the traditional ILT or instructor-led training. The Microsoft official courseware, or MOOCs as they're sometimes called, are the official source for Microsoft certification training. Both Christopher and I have been and are Microsoft certified trainers, or MCTs, so we're well familiar with delivering mock content. You want to speak to that a little bit, Christopher?
It's been a long time, but I can. I did deliver mock content from 2008 to 2011, I think, mid-2011. So it's still a great platform. It's still a great way to learn if you're one that likes that structured in-classroom, instructor-led training methodology. It's terrific. It's still out there, and it's still wonderful.
Yeah, the thing that you can't beat with the instructor-led live training is the immediacy. That is, if the instructor says something and you'd like clarification, you have the opportunity to ask right then and there. We can contrast ILT with CBT, or computer-based training. Now, CBT training is normally pre-recorded, so you don't have the direct immediacy that you do with ILT. Microsoft Virtual Academy, or MVA, is a perfect example of computer-based training. And this fits in with students who may not need the immediacy of a live instructor and who have a requirement of flexibility. because with Microsoft official courseware, in many cases, you're going to have to carve out between 2, 3, 4, or 5 days to visit a training center. Potentially, you could do it over the web, but there's still a bulk time investment. With MVA, of course, you can study those on your commute, when you're doing housework, taking a walk, and I've studied MVA under all of those circumstances, including going running. That's, I think, the chief advantage of computer-based training. It's just so ultimately convenient. Blended learning, or MOOCs, massively online course. I think that's what MOOC stands for, or massive open online course?
Massively open online course.
Okay, cool. This is a blended learning approach that can consist of live interaction with your peers and your instructor, and also pre-recorded bits. So it takes a little bit out of each model and blends them together with the idea of addressing as many learning types as possible and also giving you flexibility as a student. Because you may have a day job that eats up 40 hours a week and family commitments that chew up a lot of the weekends and your evenings, so it may be difficult at times to fit in training. There's a website you should know about called edX.org, and Microsoft has an entire school of courses in that ecosystem. As a matter of fact, in our demo in this module, we'll briefly tour that and show you what's available. Lastly, we have self-study. Some students learn best perhaps by ordering a physical book or using an e-book and just teaching themselves. I think the technical term for this is self-directed learning, or, well, I guess that's probably the best way to describe it. And again, there you have someone who maybe just has a lot of native curiosity and wants to learn on his or her own terms, and that's fine. Autodidact, that was the $5 term I was thinking of and forgot. Autodidact. Use that in your next trivia game. For the self-study audience and Microsoft certification specifically, you'd be interested in the Microsoft Press ExamRef series. What's cool about the ExamRef books is that they're mandated to cover every single exam objective. I know, being a cert candidate as well as a trainer, that level of trust is important. Here I am investing time, money, and effort in preparing to pass a Microsoft certification exam. Does this certification material cover every single line item on the exam blueprint? And the ExamRef books do, explicitly. All right, so let's switch over into a demo where we're going to take a look at some of these resources. Christopher, I think you, being the leader of the Microsoft Virtual Academy, would be the perfect person to conduct a tour of the MVA website.
I think that's a terrific idea. I can do that right now. Let me get it up here on my screen, and we'll take a look at Microsoft Virtual Academy, which I'm assuming you already have seen, given that you're here watching this course.
Right.
One of the interesting things about the Microsoft Virtual Academy site is many interesting things about the way this site works. The first thing you're going to notice when you get here is these tabs: Developers, IT Pros, Data Pros, and Students. One of the reasons I bring this up, despite the fact you're probably on Microsoft Virtual Academy right now, is the fact that this course is going to appear in all four. Now, when I say that, what I mean is when you change these tabs, you'll notice that the tiles change underneath. This course isn't going to be a tile. These are categorical, and I'm not sure we actually have a category for these courses since they're not really technical, product-wise technical.
Yeah.
So no matter what, you're going to change these tabs. These tiles are going to change, but down here, and these will usually appear on a larger screen in the same screen, you'll see them all at once, are our most recent and our most popular courses, which will change if you change your audience and then the page refreshes. These also become geared to whatever audience you're selecting. So this should appear in the most recent once we publish it in all of the categories. And hopefully, if I'm lucky, and I tend to be when I make MBA content, in the most popular category for a good long time, as demonstrated by right here, published 6 months ago, the Mastering Microsoft Certification Exam Prep, still in the top 3. These rotate, so it's not necessarily just the top 3, it may be the top 5, but we rotate 3 through those 5 in. But we're still on the list, and that is terrific. I'm happy about that. There's not much else to it. You can go to IT Pros, you can pick a category. I'll try to keep the other shameless plugs to a minimum because a lot of this content is content I've worked on or had a hand in somehow. And these, right away, they're going to be sorted by published date, so you'll see our latest and greatest. You'll actually see this course at the top. In the right categories, once it's published, it won't be here because it's not going to be Azure specific. Filters, browsing, you can do by topic. If I go back to the top, courses, courses, by topic, by product, and popular. There are a number of ways to get around in Microsoft Virtual Academy, so if you can't find something, it's there. Just a matter of finding it. Search works great. One of the nice things about Microsoft Virtual Academy is if you're viewing, you don't have to be a registered signed-in user to view content. There are certain activities that you'll have to register to receive or to complete, but out of the box, anyone can come in here and watch these courses right now for free.
That's very cool. Very cool indeed. The second site we'd like to show you is edX.org. Microsoft actually has a school on that. Let me show you in my browser here. I'm at edX.org/school/Microsoft. And if we scroll down the list, edX, by the way, is an open e-learning platform. We have a number of different MOOCs, again, that's the acronym. But what I want to draw your attention to is two things mainly. One, many of these have a verified badge. This means that after you've completed all of the exercises, watched all the videos, taken the assessments, you can actually request a certificate to show a prospective employer, to show a current employer. So there's a goal at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, with many of these courses. Let me actually go into one. Here's this one called Programming with C# that's verified. And this one is self-paced, which means that you can start it and work through it at your convenience. It's already been recorded. Over on the right-hand side, there's a bunch of metadata, the expected length that you would spend studying the course, the expected effort, which in this example is 7 to 10 hours a week. The price is free, and that's pretty amazing when you think of how expensive ordinary tuition is at colleges and universities and trade schools. And then there's a $49 charge to add the verified certificate. So that's really the Kickstarter there. The other thing I wanted to show you is, let me scroll down a bit. Some of these are not pre-recorded, but you can actually go through them with the instructor live. So you'll notice on this row we have some SharePoint Server 2016 content, and then there's start dates. That looks like they're actually ongoing because we're in February 2017, and these ones started on January 30th. Let me give one a click, this Microsoft SharePoint Infrastructure course. And it does look like, even though it's in session, you can enroll. Again, one of the cool things about these massively open online courses is that you can often get up to speed, even if the course is already in progress, by watching previous sessions and just ramping up as quickly as possible, I would say. That's edX. Now let's go over to MicrosoftPressStore.com. And specifically, again, there's two things I want to show you on this site. Number one, in the navigation under Series, we'll want to come down to ExamRef, because if you're studying for a Microsoft certification exam, definitely a go-to choice here. And we can scroll down. Of course, you could use the site search to look for a particular title. I'm going to look at ExamRef 70744, which is Securing Windows Server 2016. I actually co-wrote this book, so I have some insight in the ExamRef series, and which is why I can tell you definitively that these exams cover every single exam objective that's part of the series foundation, I guess you could say. But like any good book publisher, you can not only get the print book, but you can also consume it as an ebook. I myself, the only print books I have in my collection nowadays are either for my 6-year-old daughter Zoe, or they're nostalgia books from my childhood. Everything I consume, whether it's recreational fun reading, tech reading nowadays, is an ebook format. All right. The other thing I wanted to show you on Microsoft Press Store is the Specials badge, because it seems like almost always MS Press is offering significant discounts, specifically if you're willing to do an ebook, which is a PDF, an EPUB, or a MOBI format book. Really good deals to be found there. Let's see, I think there was one more site I wanted to show you, and that's the Channel 9 site. Channel9.msdn.com. I think some viewers, some students might be confused as to the focus between Microsoft Virtual Academy and MSDN Channel 9. Christopher, what is your elevator pitch as far as differentiating the content on those two sites?
Ooh, that's tricky for me to put on camera and have out in front of the entire world.
Uh-oh.
Channel 9 tends to be, I think of this as a pipeline, especially in terms of product availability. Channel 9 is where you're going to get the first, latest, greatest, best look at what's new, what's coming up, what our new features and technologies are in new products across Azure, for instance, when a new feature goes into beta. Whereas Microsoft Virtual Academy tends to be a little bit more, once it's not necessarily in market, but once it's been out for a little while, we've had some hands-on. We've got some technical people either at Microsoft or out in the field who've had hands-on experience with it and can come in and actually teach how it works, what it's doing, what it's for, get that real technical hands-on kind of information or demonstration sort of feel. After that, you'll move into kind of MOOCs or edX, Open edX, and Microsoft official courses and mock on demand at the same time. Those are going to be, again, you're getting into instructor-led, you're getting into peer review, you're getting into labs. They're just a deeper, richer experience. It just takes us a little more time to get built and get out to market. So that's how those relate. Channel 9's kind of first. MVA, you're going to get that technical demonstration and look at how things actually work. MOOC, mock, and mock on demand, you're going to get into actually doing labs, hands-on, some interactivity with other students, learners, and instructors potentially. Yeah, that's the pipeline.
Yeah, that's really a brilliant differentiation. I myself have been specializing in the Azure platform over the last year and a half or so, and I've been enjoying the Channel 9 Mechanics series. Specifically, they'll interview the development team and the product managers and the owners of these technologies, something like Azure Stack that's not out yet. It's being actively developed. It's good to get insight on the technologies in Channel 9, whereas MVA is a more well-rounded education, exactly as Christopher said. So content knowledge is 1/3 of the pyramid. Practical application is the second, and this is going to give you the opportunity to solidify and expand your conceptual knowledge. And this Visio diagram that I drew for you is very similar to the lab that we're building in this course, as a matter of fact. We're going to have a routed internetwork. This is going to open up so many possibilities of different things you can do. You can simulate a multi-site, multi-domain Active Directory infrastructure. You can work with routing, remote access, virtual private networking, getting DHCP to function through router interfaces. It definitely broadens and deepens what you can do in your practice lab environment. On one subnetwork, we're going to have a Windows Server machine, and again, we'll get into the specifics when we work through the course. On the other subnet, we can stand up another server, one or more desktop machines. You might have a client workstation that's going to receive group policy that you'll be testing from a domain controller. This could be a jump box. It could be an administrative workstation. The flexibility is completely up to you and what you need to do in the lab. Even going further, you can connect your practice lab to the internet and tie into the Azure public cloud for hybrid networking or what's called born in the cloud services and applications. What's beautiful about this is that from the comfort of your own home, with minimal or potentially no investment with your own computer, you can work with the same products and technologies that businesses are doing for real in production. And when you go to apply for a job, you can with confidence say, I've worked with these skills and applied my knowledge.
I actually have a good, depending on to what depth we want to go, I have some good demonstration of that. I've been in IT, or I was in IT for 10 years or so before I went into training.
Yeah.
I'd been a consultant, I'd been a help desk administrator, I've been a systems administrator, I've into consulting, owned a small company, then got into training. When I came to Microsoft, some of the questions you could ask are, how are you staying up to date with technology?
Right.
I'm doing content these days. I'm not necessarily up to my elbows in Windows Server or Azure. But what I do at home, I hate to geek out quite to this level, and I'm actually moving away from this, although it is a greater exercise in technology, is I manage my own servers at home, my own Exchange servers, my own SharePoint servers, my own Windows and AD servers. Over time, and I did web hosting for both me and other projects I was doing and friends and family who had other projects and businesses. So that's how I stayed fresh with the technologies. I actually managed and used it at home, even in a production realm. Over time, have started reducing my investment in on-premises hardware. It's kind of a funny story to talk about. I've gotten to the point I'm tired of maintaining it, even for myself.
Right.
I don't want to manage an Exchange server at my house. I'm just like, I don't have time. I just don't want to do it. So I'm moving to Office 365. I'm moving to Azure for web hosting. I've got a couple of virtual machines up there for some of the applications that I don't want to keep in boxes in my attic in my house. So it's a really great way to, and you can do a lot of this, although you can't do it in production like I've done with trial software, but through the trial software we're going to talk about at some point, through Azure, which you can just get right into and start using as a trial, it's all just right there. You can be using it in almost any form all the time.
Yeah, like any technology, over time things converge and collapse and get simpler, but at the same time you have so much more power and flexibility.
I was going to say, you would think that. You would think that Azure makes things simpler. It does in some ways. It makes them more complicated in others. Setting up VPNs was a nice learning curve. I'm used to hardware on both ends, configure correctly, and they talk to each other. Well, in Azure, you have to basically build that far end piece of hardware. It's not a piece of hardware, but you have to build it.
Right.
And then get the piece of hardware on your end to talk to it. But again, if you go into an interview and they say, what are you doing to stay up to date? And you say, let me show you my server infrastructure that I'm running. Oh, well, obviously, you're keeping up to date with the latest and greatest. I'm a little behind. I will admit I have not quite upgraded everything up to the latest versions of SharePoint. I'm running Exchange 2016. Servers are all 2012 R2. I don't think I've gotten to 2016 on any of them yet. Maybe one of these days I'll get one of them upgraded. So I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah. And that's something else. If you're coming into IT nowadays, you might have heard about older operating systems like Windows XP or Windows Server 2003. Having this sandbox available means that you can literally go back in time and create environments that were cutting edge 10 or 12, 15 years ago.
At one point, you could still, through one of our portals, I don't think it's available anymore, but up to just a few years ago, you could actually download old Windows 2, Windows 3.
That's cool.
I actually put Windows 3.1 on a VM, God, 2 or 3 years ago, I think. It was still out there. I don't know if it still is. I haven't looked at that particular portal for a long time, but it was public facing. I mean, subscription based. Yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if your business or you potentially individually belong to MSDN and have a subscription, I can verify that MS-DOS 622 and Windows 3.11 for workgroups are available for download.
That's what I'm logging into right now. I want to see this. I haven't looked at it in so long.
So the third part of the pyramid is test-taking strategy. The Microsoft official partner for this is MeasureUp, measureUp.com. And what's neat about MeasureUp is that their requirement is to give you an exam simulation that's as close as possible to the real thing. For instance, on this slide, you see an example of an interactive item. I think this is what's called a build, list, and reorder item, where you're given an item stem that describes a real-world situation with Microsoft technologies, and you're asked a question. In this case, you not only have to choose a certain number of steps to complete the goal, but then you're required to rearrange them. So you should know, if you don't already know, that gone are the days, long gone really, are the days of multiple choice items. Nowadays you can expect to see a number of different interactive items and case study items on Microsoft certification exams. So MeasureUp, like I said, is a great simulation. Of course, you're not going to see actual exam items because that's a violation of the exam policies. That should make sense logically. But it's the next best thing because it gives you an experience to get into the mindset that's required to look at these computer-based exam questions and apply your content and practical knowledge and succeed.
Just for fun, if you want to take a look at my screen, I've got my MSDN subscription pulled up.
Very cool.
3.11 for work groups, 3.11, 3.2 is on here, which most people may not even have seen before. MS-DOS is still here, is still on the list. Windows Services for Unix 1.0, released in 2004. So this is here. I mean, this is just to really show off what's available, but MSDN is a great tool. We should somehow I need to talk to them about integrating them and their subscriptions into these courses. MSDN is amazing. It's available for everybody. It's a great program, a way for you to get your hands on all of this software and then some. So back to Tim. Every now and then I just like to derail these courses. That's what I'm here for.
No, not at all. I want to take you to the Microsoft Learning website. And we cover all this ground in great detail in the Cert Prep course, but I think while we're on the subject, it's important to do here. The URL is microsoft.com/learning, easily enough. And the site looks like it's undergone a new coat of paint
It has.
in the navigation. And let's see what we have right across the top. Training, certification, and exams, special offers. Actually, let's just quickly, for grins, click that. You'll often want to go here first. Well, I'd say always go here first and see what kind of discounts are available. It looks like we have a Microsoft Exam replay option. And it looks like this may be a reboot of what used to be called Second Shot, where you register for this. You register for the exam using this program, and you in effect get 2 exam vouchers. If you don't pass the test on your first time through, you have a voucher to fall back on and register a second time. And you'll notice that there's almost always an option to include a Measure Up practice exam to, again, fill in that test-taking skills requirement. To look at an exam blueprint, your best bet is to go down under Certification and Exams, and then depending upon what technology you're interested in, let's say Windows Server here, we can take a look at a credential, the entry level MTA, the associate level MCSA, or the top tier MCSE. And then when we go into one of those, we can scroll down, and again, there'll be different options for different tracks. But you see the exam requirements with links to the exam blueprint pages. That's this dark color. I don't know if that's purple or plum. I'm very colorblind. And if there's Microsoft official training or exam ref books available, that's what these white links are here. So let's just click at random here. I'll pick on exam 7533, which is implementing Azure Infrastructure Solutions. You'll notice that we have integration here with both MVA and Channel 9 videos. It looks like this is a Channel 9 video called Establish Microsoft Azure IaaS Technical Fundamentals. And these are heavy hitters here. That person on the left is Mark Russinovich, the CTO of Azure. So you can't get any more authoritative than that. The exam blueprints, you want to go under Skills Measured, because that's going to reveal the actual specific objective domains, or ODs. And you'll notice that they're broken down granularly. So we have this objective domain called Look at Azure App Service Apps, and then specifically we get down to specific concepts and skills. And you certainly want to make sure that you understand every one of those, because the exams are going to cover every one of those exam items. You'll notice that each objective domain is given a weighting. And most of the time I've found they're pretty even. It looks like in this particular exam there's 6 objective domains, and each one is about 15% coverage. So I guess the take-home message there is learn it all.
That's kind of our mantra. What if we could switch to that? Learn it all.
Learn it all.
Done.
That's a good marketing-friendly term.
That seems like it.
What lessons have we learned in this briefer, not exactly brief, but a briefer lesson? This CERT study pyramid, I hope that you find it helpful. It was born from many years of experience, so it's been battle tested by a lot of people. It's a practical way to look at CERT study prep, and I submit it's immediately effective. Number 1, it's going to help you accomplish your certification goals. Number 2, it's going to help you, I hope, advance in your current career or get you into the information technology industry. As I said, an imbalance among any of the 3 parts is going to hurt your chance of exam success. You've got the content knowledge, the practical application, and the test-taking skills. So now that we've had a chance to set the table and eat an appetizer, let's say, let's move into the main course. And in the next module, it's called Introducing the CERT Study Lab. We're actually going to start developing this practice lab and turning theory into practice. Thanks a lot for joining us. We look forward to seeing you then.